like doing these journal entries because, like John Wesley, like Charles Finney, like George Mueller, like the Heavenly Man, those testimonies, as the book of Revelations says, helps people overcome the thought that they're the only ones striving in the direction of living a godly life in this present world. It is possible to do and to experience the New Testament life. Most people don't read the New Testament, so they think that I'm just being religious. But answered prayers encourage me so much. So I want to share with you some of the things that have happened this week. It's been super hot here in the interior Alaska, and it's been tons of fires and lots of smoke and ash falling from the sky on the beautiful sunny days that have been getting up into the 80s and 90s. So we've been praying to meet people of peace and people that are interested to calm down and listen and visit and not pull out their gun and tell you to step back. But we went to the river after last weekend. Super hot. We did a bunch of projects around the house. And we were really hurting. I mean, really had to take a bunch of breaks just because it was so hot. And we went down to the river, to the Chena River, and along Chena Hot Springs Road, there's this beautiful gravel pit, and it was stunningly beautiful, and there's tons of people and kids playing there, and so we got to visit and talking, and sure enough, just like what we were asking, these people invited us to play volleyball with them, and as we continued to visit and talk, we started talking about spiritual things, and really got to talk with a woman named Erin for a long time about some of the disappointments that they'd had with a church in town called Radiant, and it was just astounding to hear of the manipulation and control that one of the lead elders, a guy named M.D., that we had known for quite some time, was doing to her and her family and the 9 families that were coming over to her house. And it was astounding to just see the exact same things that had happened to me years ago when I was with the Journey Christian Fellowship, and we were doing work at North Star Jail Ministry, which was a jailhouse outside of Esther, Fairbanks. And I had met this young man that knew some of the folks at Radiant and tried to couple him up with them, and called this lead elder MD and asked him and said, "Hey, this guy, Mr. Henry, he wants to visit with you guys, and I see that he's just coming out of the halfway house here soon, and would you be able to help him?" And this guy, MD, treated me just like he did Aaron. Just, how dare you? We're in charge of things here. We don't take recommendations from you, and you're trying to tell us how to run our ministry here. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm trying to couple you up with somebody that you know and that you'd be able to help transition from being in the jail to living out in the outside. Do you want to meet with this guy or not? I'm just trying to give you his interest level that he's interested. And MD just continued his assault of Putin, Trump-like dictatorship role. And it was exactly the same type of strange stuff that he had done to Aaron. So it was really neat to be able to look Aaron in the eye and just visit with her about that there is a reality, that there really is a way that's clean and helpful. And it doesn't have to be shrouded with the chaos of the Acts 29 dictatorial leadership structure that Radiant was a part of. And it was the exact same thing that the leader of that group fell from leadership. He was a real jerk. So that was fun to just visit with her and hear her talk about some of the pain that she was going through and say, well, the godly in Christ shall suffer persecution. So, get over it. And, there's lots of things that you can do to recover. And so it was fun to visit with her and invite her to do stuff, and we'll see if she follows through. But I mean, from what we'd been praying was to meet someone, person of peace, and they invited us to spend time with them, and they invited us to a long conversation, and we stayed with them for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And she's been texting my wife. So we'll see how that turns out. What we've found is that 99% of the people that we meet like that are interested in kind of a passing conversation. They're interested in just having someone that's anonymous. They don't really want any follow-up. They don't want to take us up on dinner, on lunch, on coming to, meet at work. They don't want any further contact. They just want to be like an airplane conversation, a one-time conversation, and never see you again. So we've been trying to encourage people that that's not a very good way to grow. That's a good way to get some stuff off your chest. That's a good way to get some problems solved, but not a really good way to grow. And so yesterday I was buying Charlotte a kayak. She fell in love with kayaking. And we were looking at kayaks, and we found one on Facebook, and I went by and was visiting with the owner there and bought the kayak, and we loaded it up. And as I was ready to say goodbye to him, I said, hey, I've got this gospel track. You don't have to take one, but I'd like to give you a gospel track if you want one. And I can totally understand if you don't want one, because when I first was given one back in the 90s, I was like, this is okay, kind of weird and stupid. So if you don't want one, that's fine. But it's about the real Jesus. It's about the resurrected Jesus. It's not about Trump or Biden's Jesus so that they can get your vote and manipulate you like the Catholics and the Baptists do. And he really was impressed with that. He goes, yeah, no, I don't want one. And you're exactly right. That's why I don't want one, is because I was around the Bible Baptist here in Fairbanks and the insanity that they have promoted on my family. And so it was so fun to just listen to him talk about how the Duffets were just exactly what we see in the newspaper. Their son sexually advancing himself on kids, and one girl in particular has stepped forward, and now he's in jail. And it's that once saved, always saved routine that promotes a real dictatorial leadership environment where they're above sin, and they're going to heaven so they can do whatever they want. And he really was interested in the real Jesus that I was preaching to him, that heals and that's requires men to be holy, and that's not excusing, no matter what your title is, sin, and that you can get victory over it if you choose to, or you can get religious exemptions if you want to and choose to excuse yourself and think that you're above responsibility. But not the Jesus of the Bible. The Jesus of the Bible rose from the dead so that we can become in fellowship with him and partnership with Jesus. And that partnership allows us to help other people with power, to see people healed, see people set free from demons, to have the same power of the Holy Spirit that Jesus and that we get to have, to be set free from things that bind us and that hurt us and that hurt other people, so that we can speak the truth without manipulating for money, without manipulating for power, and overcome pride. So we talked for quite a while, and what turned out to be a kayak sail to be an incredibly great witnessing opportunity with someone that was genuinely hurt by religious hypocrites from the Bible Baptist Church here in Fairbanks. And it was interesting just listening to talk about the elders and the people that he knew and that had kicked me out of their church when I had years ago asked them to partner with them. And I had gone into their fellowship and said, man, you guys are really good at witnessing to people and encouraging people to come to church, and you guys are the best in town. Well, do you believe in once saved, always saved? And I'm like, trying to compliment you here and partner with you. No, I do not. Well, then you need to leave. And they pretty much ushered me out the door. So it was real encouraging to visit with him boldly and clearly and tell him, I ended the conversation by saying, well, you've obviously been introduced to the wrong corporate American Baptist Jesus of the Bible Baptist, which is the worst church in Fairbanks. But read the Gospel of Mark, and you'll see what the real Jesus is like, the non-counterfeit Jesus, the Mormon, the Jehovah's Witness, and the Baptist Jesus. And you'll see what the real one is. He's God. He has the authority to help you. And this particular guy was working, Mr. R, we'll call him, was working on a big, huge bus. And I said, well, the real Jesus of Mark and of the Bible called fishermen, called, tax collectors, called people that really knew how things worked. And he was not calling a bunch of romantic poets of the Baptist church that were just interested in fairy tales. He was really interested in people that knew that if something's broken and sinking, like this kayak might sink one day and this bus that you're working on might break down, they would get out real tools and really solve the problem. And so that interested him as well, that Jesus was interested in reality and not fakery. And so try that next time you're handing out a gospel tract. Go on the negative side and say, yeah, I bet you're probably not interested in this. I bet you've been preached to before and it turned weird. And so that's what I did with the gospel tracts for the last couple of years is, ma'am, sir, you don't have to take this. It's about Jesus. It's about Jesus, the Bible. But, I would understand if you don't want it. You're here at work or you're busy or you don't read much. And it's interesting just discussing with people some of the objections they might have before they even say them. And then they don't have any fear or problem being honest with you and saying, yeah, option number 2, you're right. I don't read much. I don't have much interest in religious stuff. And here's why. They're more than happy to tell you. And then you can minister to them exactly what they're interested in. So try that sometime and pray for the people that we've met, Aaron and Mr. R. All right, Lord bless you guys. And hopefully you'll see, as you pray for people of peace, significant results in that. And that's just 2 in 1 week. And there are many others that I haven't mentioned, but it's been fantastic to just see God answer prayer. When you pray and you ask the Lord for help, and he's wanting to do that. And that's so much why I always ask people, get a hold of me on my email and we'll get together and pray together. So far, in over 4 years, I've had only 1 or 2 people take me up on that. Be fun to see others pray together and get you encouraged together, and you encourage me. All right, take care.